Welcome to Synthesize This. In this episode, I'm going to be synthesizing an evolving rhythmic pad sound on the Behringer Deepmind 12. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing we want to do is initialize a basic patch. So we hold program and we hit compare. That'll initialize a patch. And the other thing we want to do is make sure that what we see on the front panel here is what we're actually going to hear. So I'm going to hold program and hit write. And now we have a basic cymbal patch. I'm going to turn off the square wave for now, so we just have a sawtooth. So the key thing we want to do here with this rhythmic pad sound is engage the mod sequencer, or what's called a control sequencer here. And we can do that with this edit button here in the arp/sequencer section. So in this menu here, we have a few options that we can set. The first one is enable, so obviously we want to turn it on. The other one is clock divider. So this is a division of the master tempo. And I'm going to start with 1/16 though. That's a pretty common clock division. And the last parameter here is our sequence, and this is how you actually edit the steps in the sequence. And the way you edit the steps is you pick what step you want to edit with this rotary knob here, and then you set the value using this slider here. I'm going to leave it as 16 steps for now. Actually, let's make it 8 steps. It'll be easier to kind of demonstrate quickly. So I have my length selected, so now I can use this knob to change it to 8. Go back to value, and now I can set a value, move to the next step, set another value, and just kind of keep going down the line like that. We'll just set something roughly for now. For now, let me go back to my arpeggiator settings here. And I'm going to set the tempo. It's currently set to 20, which is really low. So I'm going to bring it up to maybe 100 or something. And we can always go back and tweak this. But I'm going to exit out of this menu. All right, so we've set our sequencer. So now let's assign it to the cutoff frequency, for example. So I enter my mod matrix. I can pick the sequencer now from the source. And then destination, I'm going to pick my VCF frequency, which is the cutoff frequency of the filter. And then you can set your modulation depth. So I'm going to make it pretty extreme for now. And I'm going to reduce the cutoff frequency and the envelope's effect on the cutoff frequency so that we can rely on the sequencer. So now if I play a note, I can increase the amount. So now you can hear the sequencer is looping in the background and it's affecting the cutoff frequency. So I'm going to lower the tempo a little bit. And now of course we can go back to the control sequencer and edit the steps. So the next thing I want to do is change the shape of my envelope because I want a pad sound. So I want a slower attack. I'll keep the sustain the same, and I'm going to add some release as well. And what's cool about adding release is that even as the notes are released, the sequencer is still looping in the background. So you get this kind of fading effect. I'm also going to change my filter cutoff envelope to have a similar shape. And of course, we are not limited to just one destination. Well, we only have one control sequencer, so we can only set one type of shape. But we can assign that same sequencer to multiple different destinations via the mod matrix again. So I'm going to also assign the control sequencer to the pitch of the second oscillator, which I'm going to leave in sync mode. So let's bring up the level of that. I'm going to turn on syncing. And now if I move the pitch knob, basically I want this knob to be controlled by the sequencer, so I'm going to assign oscillator 2 pitch here as my destination and bring up the amount. The next thing I'm going to do is add some pulse width modulation via one of the LFOs. So I'm going to pick another slot in my mod matrix, pick LFO 1 for example, and then I'll pick oscillator 1 or pulse width modulation depth. And I'm going to gauge the square wave. And bring up the amount, obviously. I'm going to assign LFO 2 to control the level of the noise here. I have the noise all the way down, but I'm going to have an LFO kind of bring it in and out. And let's just find that one. All right, so we have noise level here as my destination. I'm going to bring up the amount. I'm going to change the shape to be sample and hold, which will be kind of random. Actually, let's pick a sine wave. Let me go back to the mod matrix. I'm going to reduce the mod amount of the sequencer's contribution to the cutoff frequency. And finally, I'm going to gauge some effects, so I'm going to add a nice reverb here. Let's try assigning LFO 2 to the pan as well. See if that sounds any good. I'm also going to engage some oscillator drift to add a bit of wobbliness. Key is to be subtle here. And I'm gonna pick a delay as my second effect here. I'll pick this T-ray delay, which I think is modeled after tape delay. Or I could be wrong. Of course, we can go back here and change the clock division of, whoops, I'm in the wrong setting. Clock division of our control sequencer. We can also change the swing time. And the slew rate as well. And if I go back to edit my sequencer, I can try to make it maximum steps. So I'm gonna change it to, whoops, it's a little confusing. All right, so 32 steps, which will take a bit of time to program. So I'm just gonna randomize. Whoops, yeah, this interface is a little confusing here. So you have to be careful. Whatever you have selected here is what this data entry knob will select. So you have to make sure once you've set your length to go back to value, and then you can kind of approach these one by one. Okay, this is kind of cool. You can just scroll this while moving this knob up and down, and that kind of records it in real and kind of as you're going. So that's kind of smooth. Exit out of that, I can change my modulation depth. Exaggerate the release time. I think the effects go a really long way with the synth. I mean, without the effects, it was an okay patch, and then adding the reverb really kind of brought it to life, in my opinion. Anyways, thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe for more videos like this one. I'll see you guys in the next one.